As the day of the blood eclipse loomed, I continued my preparations with a frantic urgency, desperately trying to decipher the exact procedure of the counter-ritual. The tomes in ancient manuscripts were both a guide and a maze, their ancient scripts dense with veiled meanings. In the heart of this labyrinth of knowledge, I felt the pull of the sisters growing stronger. Shadows moved in the corners of my vision, whispering warnings and threats. The air seemed to grow heavier, and I could feel their chilling touch graze my skin. But I was resolute and forced myself to continue. The stones seemed to hum in response to my preparations, their rhythm syncing with my heartbeat. Or was it the other way around? I couldn't tell. They were reacting, though, and I took this as a positive sign. I was convinced I was getting closer to the truth, to the core of the sisters' curse, to the essence of their power. Then, it happened. The night of the blood eclipse. The sky was awash in a deep, blood-red hue as I started the counter-ritual. The stones, the locket, and the symbol all set in their appropriate places. My heart pounded in my chest as I chanted the verses from the ancient manuscript, my voice echoing through the deserted gallows end. But something was wrong. As I moved to the final phase of the ritual, intending to destroy the locket, I felt a surge of energy emanating from the stones. A rush of wind howled through the town, and the ground shook beneath me. The sisters appeared before me, their spectral forms radiating a sickening, otherworldly glow. They were not trying to stop me. Instead, they were watching, their hollow eyes filled with anticipation. My voice echoed through the deserted gallows end. The words pulled from the depth of my memory. The ancient incantations danced around the stones in a spectral symphony, making them pulse with an eerie, incandescent glow. The sky painted a blood-red tableau as the celestial bodies aligned, just as the prophecy had foretold. The moon sat low in the sky, its surface stained in ethereal crimson, the surrounding stars sparkling like glistening rubies on a velvet canvas. The serpent constellation dominated the heavens, its form revealed in a spectacular celestial display. The stones were reacting to the alignment, their hum growing louder, transforming into a low, disorienting drone that echoed the rhythm of the cosmos. The stones began to levitate, suspended in the air as if gripped by an unseen force. Slowly, they started spinning in a choreographed dance, their movements synchronized with the celestial bodies above. My heart pounded with a primal, frenzied beat as I moved to the climax of the ritual. The locket lay on the makeshift altar, its once dull surface shimmering with an uncanny radiance. The aim was to destroy it, to sever the sisters tied to this world. I raised the sacred dagger, its blade reflecting the bloody moonlight, but as the dagger descended, the ground shook violently beneath me, and a surge of energy erupted from the stones. Their drone grew louder, morphing into an otherworldly wail that chilled me to my core. The locket did not shatter, as it should have. Instead, it exploded with a blinding light, revealing itself not as a vessel but a seal, a dam holding back a river of catastrophic power. In a flash of lightning, the horrific realization seeped into my mind, a slow creeping terror that turned my blood to ice. My hands, which had been meticulously moving with an almost ritualistic precision, froze in their movements. The sisters had been guiding me, but not towards their end. They had been leading me down a path of their own making, towards a far more ominous destination. The sisters materialized in the radiant glow, their forms shimmering with a power I had never before witnessed. Their hollow eyes locked onto mine, their spectral faces twisting into terrifying, triumphant grins. The sisters of the Ebony Veil, now free, relished in the surge of power that washed over them. Their once spectral forms solidified, their terrifying presence dominating the gallows. Their hollow eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and their twisted smiles widened, baring teeth that gleamed unnaturally in the blood-red moonlight. The sky roared as if in protest, lightning zigzagging across the heavens, while the stones whirled around me in a vortex of primal energy. The sisters extended their hands, the ancient locket floating above their open palms. The air around us crackled with energy, the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. I could feel the raw power that pulsed from them, threatening to consume everything in its path. And then they began to chant. Their voices wove together in an intricate, rhythmic cadence, their words resonating with the ominous drone of the stones. The constellation of the serpent seemed to respond to their call, the stars pulsating in time with their chant. It was a sight both beautiful and terrifying, a testament to the immense power they now commanded. Around us, the town of Gallow's End began to change. Buildings decayed in mere seconds, crumbling to dust before my eyes. Trees withered, their leaves shriveling and falling like snowflakes in a winter storm. And then the people. One by one, they began to appear, their spectral forms emerging from the shadows. Each one bore the mark of the serpent, a ghostly brand that pulsed with an ethereal glow. They shuffled towards the gallows, their faces devoid of emotion, their eyes vacant. A chilling realization struck me. The curse was not merely an end to the sisters' lives, but a bond that tied every soul in Gallow's End to their will. In horror, I realized that the curse was not lifted but intensified, transforming the town into a spectral puppet show under the sisters' command. The prophecy was not their end, but their ascension, and I had served as the key to their terrible reign. Powerless, I could only watch as Gallow's End was transformed into a kingdom for the dead, controlled by the Sisters of the Ebony Veil. It was their dominion now, a realm where the veil between the living and the dead was forever shattered, a testament to the catastrophic mistake I had made. My heart pounded in my chest, my mind swirling with the grotesque scene unfolding before me. I had to escape. The Sisters of the Ebony Veil commanded the ghastly puppets of Gallow's End, their ethereal eyes all fixed on me. Each marked by the serpent's brand, they lurched forward in unison, their movements jerky and unnatural, like marionettes manipulated by unseen hands. I turned on my heel, the locket still clutched tightly in my grasp, the other hand blindly reaching for the spinning stones, their hum now a deafening roar in my ears. I could feel the rough edges cutting into my palm, the strange heat radiating from them providing a cruel sense of comfort. I sprinted towards the forest's edge, the cobbled streets of Gallow's End shifting and transforming into a more dreadful version of the quaint town it once was. The once proud buildings were now decrepit, teetering on the brink of collapse, their windows empty like the hollow eyes of the dead. Behind me, I could hear the sisters' laughter, a chorus of cruel delight echoing through the air. It was a sound that would haunt my nightmares, a grim reminder of the Pandora's box I had unwittingly opened. The spectral citizens, once friends and neighbors, now chased me with a singular focus. Their faces, etched with the pain of their torment, seemed to twist into grotesque masks, their eerie, silent screams echoing in my head. I dodged through alleyways and leaped over fallen debris, the chilling touch of their ghostly hands grazing my back, a deadly reminder of the proximity of my pursuers. Just when I thought my legs would give out, I broke free from the confines of the town, the spectral glow of Gallow's End fading into the distance. I dared not look back. Each breath I took was labored, the fear and adrenaline pumping in my veins fueling my flight. The forest around me became a dark maze, the moonlight filtering through the canopy above casting ominous shadows on the forest floor. I could hear the undead horde behind me, their spectral wails echoing through the trees, a chilling symphony of the damned. It was only when the gruesome parade sounds began to fade into a faint echo that I allowed myself to stop, collapsing against the rough bark of a tree, the locket and the stones still gripped tightly in my hands. I was safe, for now. But as I stared at the cursed objects in my grasp, I realized that my ordeal was far from over. I had set the Sisters of the Ebony Veil free, and it was up to me to undo the terrible mistake I had made. The respite was short-lived. Just as I began to feel a glimmer of safety, a chilling breeze blew through the dense forest, carrying with it a faint, haunting melody that made my blood run cold. The laughter of the sisters, I realized, far away but bone-chillingly clear. My heart pounded in my chest, my breath hitching in my throat as I caught the faintest hints of movement at the corner of my eye. Several spectral shapes moved between the trees, the residual glow of Gallow's End illuminating their ghastly forms. The last few stragglers of the undead parade were still in pursuit, their relentless determination a testament to the sisters' cruel control. My every instinct screamed at me to flee, but I knew better. They were too close. Any movement would attract their attention. I huddled deeper into the shadows, clutching the locket and the stones even tighter. My heart was a drum, beating so loud I was certain they could hear it. I watched in silent terror as they came closer, their lifeless eyes scanning the area with a sense of purpose that belied their spectral nature. A few of them, horrifyingly familiar faces of townsfolk now lost to the sisters' curse, came uncomfortably close. I held my breath, closing my eyes and willing myself to become one with the darkness. Moments stretched into what felt like an eternity. The forest around me was silent, save for the eerie rustling of the spectral searchers. Then, slowly, their unsettling whispers started to fade, their spectral forms retreating back towards the glow of Gallow's end. Only when the last echoes of their ghostly presence had disappeared did I dare to breathe again. Despite the immediate threat having passed, a feeling of unease remained. I knew I was far from safe. The sudden silence of the forest felt heavier than the most deafening of noises. The realization of my failure descended upon me, a shroud more suffocating than the darkest night. I had walked right into their trap, played my part in their gruesome puppet show to perfection, and now the sisters were free. The emotions welled up inside me, a torrent threatening to burst the dam. I felt the bitterness of failure, sharp and nauseating, mixed with the cold dread of what was yet to come. I had seen the horror the sisters could unleash while still trapped. Now that they were free, I shuddered at the thought of what they would do. Despair gnawed at me, threatening to consume me whole. I had come to Gallow's End to put an end to a curse, to save a town that had suffered far too long. Instead, I had unleashed an even greater evil upon them. The weight of my failure, the sheer magnitude of the disaster I had brought forth was unbearable. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring the dark forest around me. I let them fall, unashamed. They were tears of guilt, of remorse, of despair. But they were also tears of anger. Anger at myself for being so naive, anger at the sisters for their cruel games, and anger at the fates for playing such a cruel joke. As I sat there, huddled in the dark, sorrow washing over me in overwhelming waves, I felt the stones in my hand. Cold, silent, and as enigmatic as ever. I thought of their subtle hum, the way they had levitated and spun in harmony with the locket. A part of the puzzle, yet a part still unsolved. I never thought that anthropology would be so hard.